This lesson is going to be more of an exercise because we will recreate Spotify screens from scratch. Hello and welcome to Learning Design, the course where I share my learnings on becoming a better app designer. This exercise is going to be a two-part lesson or two videos. The first one, which is this video, will focus on recreating the media player screen from Spotify. The second video, which will be released 2 weeks from now, will be about recreating the lyric screen, and not only that, in the second video we'll also learn how to animate between the music player and the lyric screen, as you can see right here. So it's pretty exciting, right? Well, if that's the case, let's start learning design. So before we get started, you can take a screenshot of any song that you want to recreate in this exercise. For me, I have Sunday Morning by Maroon 5 because it's one of my favorite songs. Well, you can also download the resource file of this exercise down below if you want to follow along while using the same material. So next, let's have a quick look at our UI first. So we have a lot of buttons, icons, and as you can see, Spotify is using quite a different font for the UI. So first, let's download the right plugins for this exercise, which means that you should have your icons plugin. In my case, I have the icons 8 plugin, but any icons plugin that supports iOS icons will do. Also, there's a link to the iOS 15 UI kit Figma file in the description below for you to copy paste a few system elements that we'll be using in this exercise. Now, since we're going to recreate or replicate this as closely as possible, we need to use the right font. So I mentioned a while ago that they're using a different font for the UI, and the font that they're using is Circular STD. So this should already come along with your free Figma plan because Figma provides you with like 1,000 fonts, and Circular STD should be one of them because I know that I don't have Circular STD on my desktop, but it's available on my Figma file. So if it doesn't show, you can just Google Circular STD and you can download it for free. Now for the actual design, let's set up our frame or canvas by pressing F and choosing an iPhone frame. I like to use the iPhone 10 frame, so we'll choose that for this exercise. Next, let me just resize this reference image because it's too big. It's occupying more than half of our workspace. So let me just resize this, make it smaller, and done. Next, let's choose the right background color. And while we're at it, let's create some shapes with colors in it so that we can easily access them when we need to use the eyedropper tool. Now, if you look closely, the background color of the screen is in a gradient type. So the color sort of transitions from medium red to dark red. So for our first shape, it will be the medium red. The second shape will be dark red. And our third shape will be the combination of these two in the form of a linear gradient. So to do the linear gradient style, we just need to click the color settings, change this from solid to linear. And then we will use the eyedropper tool to apply the medium red and dark red colors to our gradient. After that, once we have the gradient applied to our third shape right here, we will just save this as a style so we can apply it to our background. And done. We now have an exact duplicate of the app's background. Next, let's design the header. Now the Spotify screen has the downwards chevron, the name of the album of the song, and a more button for other settings. So to do this, we just need to open our icons plugin of choice and look for a downward chevron. And while we're at it, why don't we look for other icons as well so we don't have to look for them later on. So we have the more icon. Let's also look for the heart icon, shuffle, previews, pause, next, repeat, share, list, expand, and Bluetooth. So make sure to organize them properly because we want a clean workspace. So let me just organize them accordingly, and voila. So from here, what I always want to do when designing a UI is to copy and paste the status bar and home indicator from the iOS 15 UI kit that's available in the Figma community. So like I said a while ago, the link to this UI kit is available in the description. So once you're inside the file, just look for the status bar and home indicator, copy both of them, and paste them to your artboard. All right. So before we put the actual UI elements on this frame, let's first create the margins for this UI. In my case, I'll pull up the grids and columns that I use in our design system. So don't worry if you don't have these columns as well, because this is just a guide for myself. In the future lessons, we'll tackle everything you need to know about creating a design system as well, so stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, you just need to make sure that your rulers are turned on. If they're not, just press Shift R, and from there, just click and drag from the left side of the ruler to activate a marginal line. So once you've clicked and dragged from the left side of the ruler, just drag it to the frame until it's sort of like 20 pixels from the left, and create another one. So 20 pixels from the right. So this gives our design some breathing space, which is essential for UI design. Now let's design the header by putting the chevron inside the frame. Before we do that, as you can see right here, our background color is a bit dark. It's a bit dark red. And we want to make sure that we have enough contrast for our UI elements. So since our background color is dark, our UI elements should be in the light side of things. So that means our icons should be in white, our text should be in white, and all those sort of things. So in that regard, we'll first change the colors of our icons. So as you can see right now, it's all black. So let's first select them all and change them all to white, just like that. And now we're ready to use them for our design. Now let's design the header by putting the chevron inside the frame. So look for the chevron that we got from our icons plugin, drag it inside the frame, and done. Now for the album name, let's just type it here. The album name is Songs About Jane, etc., etc. Change the font to circular STD. Change the font to medium. So let me just put this below the album name of our reference material, just so we can gauge how big the font should be. So I think maybe it should be size 9. So let's change the font size to size 9. And then afterwards, let's just put it back on the frame. And let's align the album name with the chevron. Just make them vertically aligned. Also, don't forget, whenever resizing an icon, don't forget to lock the proportions because we don't want them to mess up their dimensions. And then let's just align them together. That looks good. Let's put the more icon here as well. So before we change its size, make sure the proportions are locked first. And then once that's locked, we can change it to maybe around 24 pixels and we're done. Finally, we just need to select all 3 of them. Press Shift A to convert that into an auto layout. Make sure that the spacing is set to space between. And once you do that, we're done. Let's just make sure that this header is 44 pixels from the status bar to give it enough spacing. So to do that, we will just quickly create a rectangle that's 44 pixels in height. And once you create that 44 pixel tall shape, just make sure that the elements snap, and done. Our headers all good. Now for the next part, we are going to create the album art or place the album art on our design. So for this one, we just need to look for this album art on Google because we don't have that saved in our desktop. So Google search Songs About Jane, look for the highest resolution possible, right click to copy the image and paste it to our Figma workspace. So next, let's just resize it to fit inside our margins and add a stroke while we're at it. Now for the color of the stroke, we'll use our handy eyedropper tool and selecting this pastel color around the album art from our reference material. So we can set the stroke thickness to maybe 20, center, and we're good to go. Our album art is done. But wait, as you can see, the stroke goes beyond the margins that we've set for this UI. So a quick fix to this will be to reduce the width of or reduce the size of our album art to maybe around 315 by 315 pixels and see if the outer line of the stroke aligns with the margins left and right. And that's done. It's that simple. So what we're going to do next is to recreate the media settings and of course put the name of the song and the band among other things. So let's type in Sunday Morning and change the font's properties. We'll set the song title to bold and maybe reduce the letter spacing to -1%. Its size to 18. Now don't forget to adjust the spacing between the album art and the Sunday Morning text or the song title. So let's make sure that this is around 48. And then let's type in the Maroon 5 text by duplicating this song title and then changing the text to Maroon 5. And also we need to change the properties of this text. So let's change this to light, size 14, and at 0 letter spacing. And that's good. So let's just convert them into auto layout by pressing Shift A and done. And of course, we also need to put that heart or favorite icon beside these details. So, but before we put our icon here, we first need to press Shift A again on our existing auto layout frame and make sure that the direction will be horizontal. And from there, we can now drop the heart icon in the frame, and our heart icon will be placed instantly beside this song details. Now from here, we just need to make some adjustments on the auto layout frame. So we'll adjust the sides on left and right. We need to make sure that they will snap the edge of our canvas. So not the margins, the red lines. So we will adjust this to the edge of our canvas or artboard or our frame, and then adjust the padding from there. So make sure that it's 20 on the left and 20 on the right, and on the top will be maybe 32 and bottom will be 32 as well. So from there, we can just snap it right below that album art, and there you go. So that's our song details with the heart icons. So next thing we're going to create is the media slider. So just select your line tool or press L and then put it right below the song details that we just designed, and then change the color of this line. So right now I'll change the color of this line to maybe match our reference material, so make it a bit translucent. And then I'll adjust the thickness of this line to maybe 5. And then I'll change the starting and end points of this line to round. And then from there, we'll adjust the color and transparency and make it a bit transparent, reduce the transparency to maybe 44%. And then adjust the thickness to 3. And then just make sure that the line will snap to our margins on the left and right. So it should snap on the red lines on the left and right. And then from there, I'm going to duplicate this and resize the width. So maybe change it to around 30 pixels in width, and change the color of this line, this duplicated line, to maybe around white, but not pure white, maybe something around with a tinge of red to make it a bit more modern. And then from there, I'm going to create a circle. So open up your ellipse tool by pressing O and create a circle, maybe around 32 by 32 pixels. And then from there, let's make sure that the circle will be in the same color as the bright line that we just created. And then maybe resize the circle to 16, just make it suitable for the slider, and then align them properly. So from there, we'll type in the timestamps. So type in 19 seconds. And type in the -3:45 minutes, and then make sure that they are aligned. So this one, you can rely on the aligned bottom. And from here, I'm gonna convert the slider to frame instead of a normal group, because we want to have that flexibility of adjusting their bounding box. Ooh. So I'm going to adjust the bottom padding of the song details we designed a while ago, so that the slider will be able to move higher without merging with the frame above it. Now I'm gonna put the timestamps few pixels up as well. So reduce their size and adjust their size to maybe 12 or maybe 10, and adjust the font weight and the color as well. So let me just do some adjustments here. And there you go. So for this one, make sure to select both timestamps and press Shift 8 to convert that into auto layout, and make sure to adjust the left padding to 20, right padding to 20 as well, and make sure that they are spaced between. From there, we can adjust the boundaries of this frame, of this auto layout frame, and let them snap to the edges of our UI frame. And maybe adjust the bottom padding as well, because there will be elements right below it. We want to have enough space. So we're almost halfway through our media settings. So for the second half, which are the main media controls, since we organized them already a while ago, this is the beauty of organizing stuff. What's left for us to do is to drag them into the frame and double check on the sizes. Make sure that the pause or the middle button is emphasized, because it's the main button in this instance, and the previous next will be secondary, and the shuffle and repeat will be tertiary buttons. So let's adjust the size of this. Let's also adjust the size of the shuffle and repeat buttons. So make them smaller. And then from there, make sure to align them horizontally. So from there, we'll convert them into an auto layout frame. And for now, we'll pack them in the center. We'll make some adjustments later on. So let's adjust the bounding box of this auto layout frame to the edge of our UI frame, and then just let it snap right below that media slider or the timestamp. So from here, I'm going to change the properties again of this media controls to space between instead of middle, pack in the middle. And then I'm going to put 20 for the left and right padding. And then what I'm going to do next is to select these three main controls and then press Shift A again to convert them into an auto layout. So the reason we're doing this is because we want to separate these three main controls from the shuffle button and repeat buttons on the side. So if we don't frame these three buttons, then all of the 5 buttons in this row will have equal space between each other, which would lessen the emphasis that we want to have in this row. So I'm going to select them and adjust the spacing accordingly to my taste. And then we're done for our media controls. So next thing I'm going to do is to drag and drop our Bluetooth icon to the frame and type in JC's AirPods Pro. So I'm going to change the color of this as well. So I'm going to use our eyedropper tool and select the color green from our reference material so that we will have the same color. So change this color as well. And from there, I'm going to resize the Bluetooth icon maybe to 20 because it's not that important. So from here, I'm going to select the Bluetooth icon and the Bluetooth text, and together I'll convert them into an auto layout frame. And then from here, I'll make the necessary adjustments. So the spacing between them will be 4, and then I'll change the font properties to light or maybe something lighter just to de-emphasize this Bluetooth indicator because it's not that important. And then from there, I'm going to drag and drop our few remaining icons, our share button and our list button right beside that Bluetooth indicator. So I'm going to resize the share and list icon as well, maybe around 20 as well, because they are not important buttons. So we want to have that visual hierarchy. And then from there, I'm going to select the share and list icon and convert them into an auto layout frame. So from there, once I resize them, I'm going to select all of them and I'm going to convert them into auto layout by pressing Shift A again. And then from there, I'm going to adjust the bounding box of this auto layout frame and snap them to the sides of our UI. And make sure that they are spaced between. So let's zoom out a little bit and see our work so far. So it's looking great and looking exactly like the Spotify UI that we have. So we just need to recreate the lyrics section. But as you can see, we don't have enough space down here for the lyrics section. So we'll need to resize the frame. But before we do that, we need to first find our home indicator layer on our layers panel and make sure that the constraints will be left and bottom. So this will make it stay at the bottom whenever we resize the frame. So once that's done, we can now resize the bottom of the frame by simply dragging it. And as you can see, the home indicator stays at the bottom because of the constraints that we set earlier. Now for our lyrics section, what I'm going to do first is to create a frame. Press F and make sure that it snaps to the both margins. And then from here, let's add a color, red. Oops, not this red. And this bright red, make sure that it's bright red. And also we'll adjust the corner radius of this to maybe 4. Make it a bit similar to the corner radius of this lyrics section from our reference material. Then from there, we'll type in the lyrics label, like the title of this section, and maybe change this to bold. Resize this to maybe 12. And there you go. Then let's just reposition this maybe here, and then we'll just make some adjustments later on. Then next thing I want to do is to create the more button right here. So type in more, bold. I think bold is okay, or medium. I think bold is much better. Let's just make it a bit smaller. So size 10, I guess, or size 9. No, maybe size 10 is okay. Then from here, we don't have, I think we accidentally deleted the expand icon. So we'll look for it again in the Icons 8 plugin. And there you go. So from there, we'll just resize this, or first change its color to white. And then resize this to maybe 16 or even 12. Just make it a bit smaller because it's a secondary button. So from here, make sure to select both of them. So the more and the enlarged icon. So press Shift A. Then from there, make sure that they are packed in the middle, and the spacing will be 12 on the sides and 4 on top and bottom. So we can tweak this later on. So maybe we can remove, we can apply some color first, this medium red. And then from here, we'll change the corner radius to 50. And that's good. So I think that's a lot closer to our reference image. And then from here, let's select the lyrics and this more button and press Shift A, and this converts into an auto layout header. So from here, make some changes. So spacing will be space between, then the left padding will be 12, and I think we can keep it to 0, or maybe 16, or maybe 12 here, and then 16 at the bottom. Yeah, that's right. Maybe 20. And from there, we'll adjust the size of this auto layout frame. Make sure it snaps to the edge of this lyrics frame. Just resize it, and that's good. Then from here, we don't have the lyrics, so let's just Google Sunday morning lyrics, and then just copy paste half of this lyrics, because we can just delete this later on. So copy it and then paste it here, and then as you can see, we already have it formatted in the right setting. So we'll just change the alignment to left align, and then maybe size will be 13 or maybe 20, and then change the letter spacing to maybe 0% or 120%, and then just make sure that this will be in an auto layout frame again. So press Shift A, make sure that it will snap on the edges of this frame. Make sure that it will snap right below this header as well. So as you can see, the blue box is here, so we'll just snap it right there. So let's make some adjustments. Let's make sure that we have enough space for our text. So let's remove the percentage. Let's just change this to 140. Or maybe 100, make it more accurate. So maybe 40, maybe 40. 40 is good, or maybe 35, and that's a lot better. And then spacing will be 1%, I guess. Yeah, that's good. So as you can see, we have the right spacing. One line for Sunday morning. We didn't copy this music icon, and it's okay, because it's just a program in Spotify. We didn't have that when we copy pasted it. So still some coverage from skin. Clouds are shouting us in, and next line will be moments are forgettable. So from here, we'll recreate this share icon. So what we're going to do is just duplicate this more icon and Command D and just drag it right here. So let's just change the text to share, and then let's just duplicate this share icon and Command D and just drag it away from that frame. And just drag it inside this, beside the share, or maybe right here. And just delete this expand icon and resize this to maybe 16 or 12, 16. Yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah, 16 is much better. And let's change this spacing 4 and this one to 4 as well. And there you go. So from here, as you can see, we didn't have enough padding here. So let's change this back to 0. And then the padding will be, let's go to the frame. Make sure that you are selecting the frame and not the text. Padding will be 14. And let's reduce the letter spacing and go back to and select the text tool. Go back and make sure that this is fill container, so that it will automatically wrap inside this lyrics frame. So as you can see, we don't have any overlapping elements when we click on them. So from here, let's just resize this frame by dragging this line. And we can also reposition this frame right below this row. So maybe select them both and make sure that the spacing between this will be like divisible by 4. So maybe 24 is good, or even 20 is good, or even 16. Yeah, 16 is good. From there, let's just resize this frame, adjust this here, and remove this text. Let's just cut it to the moments unforgettable part. And from here, let's remove this text 0. Make sure it's a bit closer, maybe -3, and then maybe we can make this a bit larger. 21. 21 is good. So from here, as you can see, the share is not inside the lyrics frame. So if we check our layers, as you can see, the share frame, let's rename this to share, it's not inside the lyrics frame. This is the lyrics frame. So we need to put this inside this lyrics frame. Just drag it inside here, and there you go. Just make sure that it's aligned properly. Just let the software do the snapping for you, because they will tell you if it's aligned or not. Then from there, we can change this, the color of this button. We can just remove it simply and then apply a stroke and maybe white. And there you go. You can also change the thickness of the stroke to maybe 0.5, and there you have it. Now we can resize this frame again. So our space should be 12, and now we have a 12. We'll use this rectangle as a guide. So it's 12 pixels tall. So we'll just let it snap, and there you go. And remove this. Then from there, as you can see, we have this faded text effect. So what I'm going to do is to lock this frame first, and then create a rectangle. Make sure it's red, and then from there, let's just adjust the size properties of this, and then check the color settings. Change this from solid to linear, and then you can switch this to endpoints. So this one will be the 0% setting. So this one will be in 0%, and this one will be in full color. So from here, all we need to do is just drag it up and make sure that it will cover this moments unforgettable part. All right, there you have it. So this is just a simple faded text effect, but that we can change later on. So we'll make some further changes here. So for the lyrics, let's lock this rectangle first so we don't select it accidentally. So change these colors to black or maybe dark red. Use the eyedropper tool and select this one. And there you have it. And going back to our faded gradient, just put it right here. Lock this lyrics frame, and then adjust the size of this rectangle. And then maybe we can change the gradient effect here. Just make sure that it's a bit closer to the starting point, just like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I think it's a lot closer to our reference material. So from there, let's just frame this again, because the gradient effect is now a part of this lyrics frame. So this will be lyrics master. From here, let's just realign this, make sure that it snaps to the edges, and we are done. Just some final touches. Maybe height will be 44, and resize the screen. And there you have it. That's our Spotify UI. Alright, so we've successfully created the first and main screen of our Spotify music player. For our next lesson, we'll quickly go over how to recreate the lyric screen, and from there, learn how to animate between this music player and the lyric screen. So just like what you're seeing right here. So if you've encountered some challenges while designing this along the way, well, don't worry, because I shared this Figma file as a resource document for this lesson. So feel free to download that to study the design yourself. Or if you have any more questions, feel free to post on CodeWithChris forum, and we'll be happy to accommodate your concern. So stay tuned for our next lesson, which will go live in the next 2 weeks. In the meantime, go ahead and practice your design skills by recreating other apps that you like or restudying this lesson. So with those things said, I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.